is dealing with the property of someone else, is it not? Okay? This too is dealing with the property. Okay? We're going back to bodily matters. Can you or can you not, or should you not overcome your own bodily interest and not care for the property of someone else? Here, we have another mitzvah that opens up with the words, what? Lo tireh. You have to use your eyes in the proper way. Lo tireh too. Et chamor achicha. O shoro. Noflim baderech. And maybe David Hayes would ask the question, would it only be chamor and shor? These are just examples of the common truck of that era. You would use a chamor or a shor to pack on your luggage, your products that you're marketing, and so on and so forth, right? But the truth would be, if you had a horse, it would be the same thing. And what happened to them? Noflim baderech. They're falling on the road. So what is lo tireh connected to? Don't see what? I want to understand the negative commandment here. Lo tireh is connected to which word? What? Looking inside the pasuk. Lo tireh is connected to what? Vitalamta. Don't see and then make your blind yourself. Ignore. Do you see how it's used again? The identical to the previous time, is it not? If you can please show me a difference, I'd be happy to hear. But I don't see it. So instead of what? Not looking and ignoring, what should you do? Hakem? No, there's nothing returning here, sir.
I'll pick it up.
We're talking here that what is collapsed on the road?
The ox.
Excellent. Your friend's truck. Your friend's truck. Is that what we're talking about? The Torah is only talking what was prevalent at that time, but the huadin, the law would be equal in any other situation.
Yes.
Okay? That's what the Talmud says. Because the Talmud asks, why are you using the terms, the nouns chamor and shor? And by the way, how is this theme continued? Which word is used again? Hebrew. What word again is used here? Achicha. Very good, Shmuel. Achicha. Isn't that amazing? The theme goes out throughout the Parsha. We're going to see this many times. Brotherhood, unity, fraternity, love. Love. In Vayikra Yutet Ve'afta l'recha kamocha, you shall love your friend like you love yourself. Ramban there argues it's not a hypothetical, spiritual, metaphysical mitzvah. Love your friend like you love yourself. It's action. ACT. ION. Where does that spell? There to help. Thank you very much. It spells the word action. So here's an example. You saw the lost property of your brother. Return it. You see now that a brother, his car has a flat tire. He didn't put enough air pressure into his tires, or the truck just collapsed. What is the mitzvah? The last three words of the parsha. Hakem takim. Imo. Now look at me. Can you identify in this mitzvah only a negative mitzvah, or only a positive mitzvah, or is there a third answer? It's both. Lo tireh, and then ignore. Whereas, what should you do instead? Hakem takim imo. Okay. Yosef and I are putting on a little play. Oy, what happened to your truck, Yosef?
It's flat at the moment.
No, just the opposite. Ask me. I'm sorry. You didn't hear that, did you?
No.
Oh, boom, boom.
Oh, Shalom Rab Listman, what happened to the truck?
You're not going to believe it. I have a flat tire.
Ah.
Would you like to do the mitzvah?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll sit here by the side and just rest, and you'll do the mitzvah. Okay.
Would you mind helping me so we can do it together?
My question to you is Yosef, the clause that he just said, could I help him? Is that in need? Is it incumbent upon him to do the mitzvah, and I'm just sitting on the side and watching on my beach chair? Prove it to me. Don't give me logic. Prove it to me from the pasuk. What do you see, Shmuel? Very good. Excellent. Hakem, takim. Next word. What does im mean?
With him.
An emo with him. In other words, if the truck owner, the horse owner, he'll sit on the side and watch him. Slicha. No. He's here to help you, right? So you just cannot sit on the side and put your finger. Unless like an old man. By the way, today, there's an amazing friendship and brotherhood on the roads in Israel. There's a volunteer corporation or company called Yedidim, Friends. And these are people that you just call them, they come and help fix. They're very sharp on fixing flat tires, fixing mechanical things. You call them up and they come and help you out. They're brothers. Have you heard of them? Have you heard of them, David? Yedidim?
In America, they have something called Chaverim.
It's a Jewish company, meaning in New York or something, called Chaverim. So maybe it started there, and it's several years. And there's a lot of Dati Lumi people and Haredi Jews that are sharp in knowing how to fix things. And we've had amazing things. I was sent some clips in the social media of like an irreligious girl and she was taken and she was crying by this innocent friendship of fellow Jews that all of a sudden just come and help you out. I remember I gave my car to my wife and my daughter and a daughter. They went to a women's event somewhere, I don't know, and it was a raining winter night, and they got a flat tire with my car on the way back, and they were stranded. These women don't know how to fix a flat tire. It's been years. And they called up Yedidim, and they came first even before the army came, and what a chesed, what a kindness on the road. It's an organization, it's like a beeper system, I think, or something. Whoever's closest, he just leaves his house, or he's on the road, and he comes and help you. And this is achicha. Isn't that great? Isn't that a great idea? Yedidim. Yes, sir.
So, but the example that the Rav was giving, like, okay, he's gonna do the tires and you're gonna sit down. He can say then, like, no, I don't have to do it anymore.
You're right. You're correct. Hakem takim, next word. Imo, with him. Imo, im.
So you can. So then you lose your benefit if you.
That's correct. You're absolutely right. The Gemara says that, and Rashi brings it. If I'm not mistaken, did Rashi bring it? I'm looking. Can. Yes. Where is it? Yeah, I'm on the wrong page. Yeah, Bab Metzia, sure. One more point. It's good to add. The Torah in Shemot talks about the inverse situation. Here we're talking about lehakim, to load him up. Right? Load him up. In Shemot, if I'm not mistaken, the Torah there talks about unloading. Okay. And another difference, there the Torah talks about oyivcha v'sonacha. And here the Torah is impacting us, achva, brotherhood. Okay, we're ready to go to the next mitzvah. Pasuk hey. Lo yechli gever alisha, velo yilbash gever simlat isha. Ki toavat Hashem Elokecha kol osei eile. 1 second, sir. Did everyone read this pasuk that I just read, pasuk 5? Okay. Here we're talking about changing your clothing in order to be amongst the opposite sex. A man wearing women's clothing so he can hang around women. A woman wearing man's clothing in order to hang around men. Another, we're talking about immoral purposes. Immoral, from here, there are those that learned out, well, if I'm putting on a Purim play, and it's not for that purpose, but rather some drama that you're putting on, not to be with women or men, but to be amongst your own, but wearing, etc., then there's no prohibition. This is a very prevalent matter in the Western world today, because people are mixed up and they don't understand what is their true identity, and people are searching. and therefore they often get into left field or other fields that are really not them, and they're searching. They're actually Rahmanut, mercy on these people. They don't realize who they are and what their role is in life. And that's being expressed so much in society, in the Western world. It's getting greater and greater, and it's so many crazy things. All throughout the centuries, normative behavior was that a man wears men's clothing and a woman wears woman's clothing. And now the Western world is so mixed up, unfortunately, and things are topsy-turvy and vice versa. And again, this is related to personal bodily matters, where a person doesn't understand the identity of his own body and who he is and what is his role in the world. And therefore people are searching, and they get to wrong examples, and they support themselves with freedom of speech, freedom of dress. Everything's free, free, free. We know in our world of tshuva that as opposed to the Western secular, mundane world, everything is based upon freedom. But laws, what you have to do, are not large in number. In Torah, not only are we told what to do and not to do, we're told what to think. We're told how to address matters, what midot, what character, we should be acquiring. The fact that you're a philosopher and you have 2 doctorates in philosophy, yet you're a scoundrel, and you don't give the right time of day to people, that's not proper. On the opposite, we're learning how to serve Hashem. What are the midot? What are the proper attributes? How to behave, how to be considerate, how to be sensitive to people, how to think, how to be gentle. That's what because we can reach shleimut, we can reach completion in serving God. And here, people are justifying things based upon this freedom and that freedom. You can think whatever you want. The Torah says no. The Torah says we should be thinking certain ways and erasing other ways of thought, because we know that once the heart desires and the mind thinks about these things, then you're going to find a way and tactic how to do things and get to do violations. So that's why after studying the Mesilat Yesharim, the path of the just, which he explains so much in his introduction in the Sefer, and as he explains in his introduction, the value of this Sefer is not by studying it, but by reviewing it and reviewing it, the path of the just. So here we have this prohibition. You wanted to say something, Mr. Hayes?
No.
Okay. Let's now go on to the next
I wore pink goggles when I was swimming I wore it half left, but I threw it off. I had to get this thing off of me.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a prohibition to wear pink.
I felt really bad.
You felt, but that's a subjective matter because usually men don't wear pink. Let's go on. Pasuk Vav. Pasuk 6. We have another mitzvah, 6 and 7. Okay? Ki yikare kan tzipor lefanecha. We're now coming to a kan tzipor. Who knows? It's not the 1,000 shekel question. We have a mesechet, a tractate, in order number, is it 5 or 6? And it's called the plural of the word kan. Kinim. We have korbanot, sacrifices that come from birds. Birds, kinim. Often a bird is a poor man's sacrifice who cannot afford an animal sacrifice. There are times that, according to your ability, if you can bring an animal. If not an animal, you can bring a bird. If you can bring a bird, you can bring a thick-skinned animal, thin-skinned animal. You can bring a bird. And if you're so poor, you bring it from? Flour, the mincha, very good. Okay, which is the most inexpensive. Ki yikare. Look at me. B'mikra. B'mikra.
Coincidental.
Yeah, incidental, coincidental, by chance. It was not planned out. Ki yikare, you chance and meet up with what? Kan tzipor. And it's lefanecha. Where? Baderach, on the road. Or bechol eitz. Follow the Hebrew. O al haaretz. And what are you finding? Efrochim. You're finding chicks. O, next word? Veitzim. They're not yet hatched. And what's happening? Like what's usually happening. V'ha'im rovetzet al efrochim. Oh, next two words. Al beitzim. Now we come to how do you itemize the next 5 words? How do you itemize lo tikach ha'im al abanim? A lo ta'aseh. A negative prohibition. Very good. Whereas the next 3 words, shaleach tishalach et ha'im. How do you itemize that? Mitzvah taseh, a positive mitzvah. V'tabanim tikach lach. After sending away the what? The mother bird, you want some chicken soup? No broth. You want some chicken soup. So now you can take the young, the banim, either the efrochim or in Hebrew, the beitzim. And if you do that, leman yitavlach. God's promising here, yitavlach. You're going to have yitavlach. You will have tov. Yitav. It'll be good in your life. Varachta yamim. You'll have lengthy days. It's a very unusual mentioning of reward. This pasuk, does it remind us of another mitzvah? Who remembers? I didn't ask you. You probably think Idan is a very mean person. We have an agreement already for months and months. It's okay. Who remembers another mitzvah? Renan, do you remember where this term or prize reward is mentioned? Which one? What did he say?
This is the fifth of the Esser Dibrot.
Would you please tell me what it is? Very nice, very nice. Kabed et avicha v'et imecha leman yarichun yamecha ladamasha. Very good. Okay, this mitzvah is called or named in the Mishnah Shiluach Haken. Haken, the sending of the nest. But it's the sending of the... And you may ask a question.
Vice versa, why?
Why not vice versa? Oh, you want to have a nice chicken soup. You don't want to have these what is it called? Cornish hen in English? Is that what they're called? The young ones?
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
You don't want the little ones. You don't want the Cornish hens. You want to have a big, a lot of fat of chicken in your soup. So why not just take the mother?
You can't just slaughter the mother and the child in the same day.
So you're saying you can't. There is a prohibition that we're not allowed to slaughter 2 at the same day, mother and children, or father and children, and so on and so forth. Is that the reason here?
Maybe it's more easier to take the chicks instead of the mother.
It's easier to take the chicks,
And the mother.
maybe, but
Not to be cruel.
So you're saying not to be cruel. Who has another answer? Yes.
Maybe the chicks or the eggs wouldn't survive without the mother, so you are slaughtering both.
Wow. Yes.
So by sending the mother, what do you?
Sending the mother, you preserve a generation.
Oh, very good, very nice. There are those like the Sefer HaChinuch. Very good. Idan, buy yourself a coffee or an ice cream today, whatever, or ice, whatever you like. The Sefer HaChinuch says, indeed, we see an idea. Before I get to the idea, do we have a right to provide reasoning where Hashem did not provide reasoning? We're now entering into a very heavy subject. I'm writing it in blue, and it's called Ta'amei Mitzvot. The reasoning, tam, taste. The reasoning, thank you, behind the mitzvot. There's an ongoing Tanaic argument that goes back even to the Rishonim. Can you or can you not interpret what is the reason behind this commandment? What does Hashem want from us? Okay? So there's a classic argument in the Talmud, 2 opinions. And we see that as well when we Sefer HaChinuch, who's anonymous. When he authored his Sefer, he says clearly, we really don't know, because God did not tell us. However, if we can tax our minds and try to probe ourselves and try to understand on a human intellectual way what could be, we're suggesting, we don't know for sure. And that's the entire approach of Sefer HaChinuch. Rambam, also in this book, Moreh Nevuchim, the Guide to the Perplexed, he itemizes all the mitzvot with explanations. What could be the intellectual understanding behind these mitzvot? But here, we have a tremendous argument between the Rambam and Ramban. Renan, what you said is what Nachmanides says. Nachmanides attacks Rambam. The Rambam, as if he's saying that that we see here the mercy of Hashem. The mercy of Hashem. There's a lot more to understand. I want to simplify it too much, but I don't have the ample time for this right now. And the Ramban says, Ma pitom. We don't know exactly what the mercy of Hashem is. All the mitzvot, as the Talmud says, are gzerot, decrees. We don't really know. And if the mitzvot are here, it's for our benefit. The benefit of the mitzvot is so that we shall not be cruel, that we shall be gentle where there's need to be gentle, where there's need to go to war, and we have to use cruelty, bloodshed, there's a mitzvah to do so. Okay? But I want to read to you what my mom, I want to read to you an article that Nechama Leibovitz puts out here in her great sefer called Studies in Dvarim. Can we have it down there, down below? He says also, the Rambam, don't misunderstand. The mitzvot of Torah are reasoned, but the motivations of some of them are beyond our but mortal intelligence, he says. Okay? Nachmanides refuses to entertain the notion that the sending away of the mother bird is dictated by considerations of cruelty to animals. Okay? Because if there would be not allowed to have any cruelty to animals, you wouldn't be even to be shochet, you wouldn't be allowed to be slaughter any animals, if that's the reason behind it. Rather, the mitzvot are governed by educational considerations, like you said, to inculcate kindness and compassion in our dealings with each other. And therefore, the Nachmanides writes, and I'm quoting him in English, he wrote it, of course, in Hebrew. Like he said, if we're going to see, if it's to stay away from cruelty, then it would have been forbidden to slaughter. The reason, however, is to teach us compassion and the avoidance of cruelty. The avoidance of cruelty. That's more or less what I wanted to say. How often is this mitzvah performed?
If by any chance you have encountered.
Like today in these days?
Even those days and those days.
Maybe once in a lifetime.
Like not even once in a lifetime of a person. Maybe a few times in a generation by the entire, it hardly ever happens. I remember, I think it happened here in the Machon Meir dormitory. I think on one of the ledges, there was a bird nesting her nest, etc. And if I'm not mistaken, I think there's even a brach. It's such a rare mitzvah. But you know what? What I did want to share with you is we see that the mitzvot of the Torah are not only dealing with someone else's property, someone else's animals, helping someone that their matters are collapsing, and so on and so forth. But here we see that the Torah also deals with birds. Okay? The Torah also deals with birds and how they should be taken care of, and so on and so forth. Any questions? There's much more to learn, and maybe it's an unjust way. Yes, Michael.
But also, like, because this is like a very minor mitzvah, nachon?
A what?
Minor mitzvah.
Who says that it's a minor mitzvah? How do we know the greatness or not greatness of a mitzvah? Did you get a scale with the Torah?
No. But
neither did I.
I think I heard like it's like a very easy mitzvah, but because the reward after it's connected with the big mitzvah, so it's trying to
very nice to teach you that what? That each and every mitzvah is so great that you can get prolonged life because of doing this. Very nice. I want to say yes, sir, Renan.
There is like similarity with the famous mitzvah like lo yashik bechalav imo.
Lo tivashel gedi b'chalev imo. Yes.
It's a little bit similar.
Yes. The mixing.
And also there is mentioned like not be cruel.
It says there, not to be cruel. Next to it may be the slaughter, don't slaughter the mother and the son. Now I want to ask you something. Who knows, and we're going to end that today, sure, with this. As far as punishment in the Torah is concerned, what is the common punishment for a violation of a negative commandment, a mitzvot lo taseh, or we call it one word, a lav. Have you heard of that term used, gentlemen, before? A lav, even in Hebrew we use this, okay? Lav. Lav is lo, don't do it. Lav. What is the common punishment for the violation of a lav? Does anyone know? Very good, David. A negative commandment, okay? Very good, David. It's lashes. What we call in Torah language, malkot. In Mishnaic language, makot. Very good. Now, we have the following klal. Every negative commandment connected to a correction, to a positive commandment, kol lav hanitak la'aseh. It's a Gemara Masechet Makot on page 2, side 2 or something like that. Kol lav hanitak la'aseh ein lo kimalav, the Talmud says. Every lav, negative commandment, connected to an aseh. Remember what an aseh is?
Connected or disconnected?
There it means connected. Kol lav, that's connected to an aseh, a positive commandment, ein lo kimalav. There's no malkot for it. Here is an example. What does the Torah prohibit? Taking the mother. And there's a correction. Send away first the mother and then take the children. In other words, there's a negative command, but there's a correction to it. There's a positive assay. Therefore, if someone really would have violated it, meaning if he would have taken the mother bird while it's still hovering over the kids, he would not be liable for lashes, malkot. Excellent. Okay, we're going to stop here. Take a short break. Gentlemen, have a great day. You learned beautifully today, gentlemen. Thank you. Want to hit the stop button?